What do you think is the biggest part of the Chinese black market? Normally, you would probably be thinking of drugs or gambling. And a year ago, you would probably be right. But not today. Right now, teachers are the largest part of the Chinese black market. And that's exactly what I do. I'm one of those teachers. In order for us to understand this strange situation, I will need to explain a few things. So let's begin. What's it like being a kid in China? Well, honestly, it's not good. Children as young as 9 or 10 spend most of their time in school, and when that's over, they have hours of homework that they have to complete every day. The situation on holidays is not much different because, again, every day they have to spend so much time doing homework and other things. And then, when all of that is done, the private lessons come in. The most common ones are math and English. Whoever can afford private lessons will have private lessons. It almost goes without saying. So, as you can see, kids are both under a lot of pressure and they don't have enough free times to do the things that they like. So, why do parents do this? Do they not love their children? Well, of course not. It's the opposite. They feel that they have to do this for the benefit of the child. The thing about China is that it's not really communist. It's a deeply unequal country. For the majority of people, the only way to have a good life is getting into a good college. Even if that is not true, parents believe it is. And here comes the arch enemy of millions of Chinese school children, the Chinese college entrance exam, also known as the gaokao, a 9-hour exam that takes place over a couple of days. Now, this is serious. Traffic is stopped so that the noise does not disturb the children. Some schools use drones to prevent any sort of cheating, and often parents spend days outside the school praying. This is how important it is. If you're in China, this might be the most important moment of your life. And seriously, I'm not exaggerating. When doing my research, I watched a lot of videos on the gaokao, and the comments are filled with people that had the test decades ago and they're still traumatized. There are people with PhDs that have nightmares about retaking the college entrance exam. I don't even remember how many points I got on my college entrance exam. Honestly, I think I did quite badly. And yet, I managed to get in and graduate among the top 10% of my generation. So yeah, here's my controversial opinion. Maybe taking a single test on one specific day to decide your future might not be the best way of predicting if you will do well in college. Especially since oftentimes a large part of the test is not connected to the field that you want to study. If you want to become an architect in China, you need to do well on both your Chinese and on your foreign language. And if you want to study French, well, you better be ready for the math test to decide your future because it's worth as many points as your foreign language test. But whether I'm right or wrong on that one doesn't really matter. Now you can understand under how much pressure are Chinese families. And this also shows why private teachers are so important. People are looking for any advantage they can find, and whoever can afford teachers will do so, even for kids that are very, very young. The most extreme parents will book English classes for children as young as 4. To most people, teachers are a necessary part of a kid's future. And sadly, they're sort of right. Since the competition is so strong and there aren't enough places, you need to use any advantage you can find. And the other kids are getting private tutors. If your kid doesn't, you're at a clear disadvantage. And this is how the system functioned for years. But last summer, everything changed. The Chinese government put forward a series of bans and restrictions on private teachers. The official goal of this policy was to lessen the stress on the school children. The unofficial one is that China is going through a demographic crisis. There aren't enough children. And after decades of trying to restrict births, China is now trying to do the opposite. So the real goal might be to lessen the financial stress on parents in the hope that they will be more ready to have a second or even a third child. Whatever the goal was, the consequences were significant. Companies that before hired thousands and thousands of teachers and were valued at billions of dollars were effectively destroyed in a single week. At first, this was seen as a clear win, both for the parents and the government. If no one can have private lessons, then that will lessen the pressure on the children, right? Well, in reality, that was not the case. Since the same amount of people still want to have teachers, the demand simply shifted to the black market. Now, the Chinese government wanted to prevent this and crack down on private teachers, but it was simply not effective. Because honestly, having a private class is quite easy. All you need is a Zoom meeting and a PayPal account for paying the class later. And this has created an interesting situation because the people that could profit the most from this new black market are the ones with connections to both teachers and parents. And in China, this has been stay-at-home moms. So we have situations where middle-aged women are connecting hundreds of teachers to students and making so much money. I'm in contact with a woman that is responsible for managing 100 Filipino teachers. And whenever they have a class, she takes a percentage of that money. It's amazing. They're making far more than drug dealers. So this might be the first situation, at least that I'm aware of, where middle-aged women are the main group profiting from the black market. And I can also tell you this from a personal perspective. Many teachers profited from this ban because it made it easier to connect directly with the parent, and that way there isn't a company that is taking a part of your pay. I can tell you also about what I do. I pretend to be an American because parents are willing to pay far more for an American teacher. And they can't really tell the difference. Plus, I do pretty much the same job. The good thing is that I live in a European country that is so much cheaper than the US, but I make the same salary. So this is definitely a job that I can recommend to other people. Also, if someone wants to try it out, here's my advice. These kids are under so much pressure for reasons we talked about before. Don't increase the pressure on them. My goal is to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident during our classes. I never give them any homework. I don't want them to feel pressure. I want to encourage them and make sure that they feel good about themselves, that they feel smart, that they feel respected, because they don't get a lot of that in their everyday lives. So if you ask me, the best thing an English teacher could do for Chinese kids is to focus on making sure that they feel good. And the second goal should be to teach them English. That's at least my opinion. And plus, in 40 years, one of these kids will be holding the keys to Chinese nuclear weapons. So I don't want him to have nightmares and angry flashbacks to the time when he was learning English as a kid and the Western teacher was being too demanding. So, after all of this, I hope you have a better understanding of the Chinese teacher black market. I do my very best, but keep in mind that I could be wrong about different things, so it's always good to do your own research. And if you're interested in finding out why I think China is the only winner of the Russian-Ukrainian war, I have a video on that. Or maybe you're interested in electric cars. Oh, what a coincidence! I have a video on the 5 advantages and one big disadvantage that electric cars have. And if you want to support a small channel, feel free to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Hope you have a good day.